Hello, and welcome to the One Marketing Thing podcast. And today's topic is Trailblazing Leadership, Overcoming Obstacles in the Digital Marketing Industry. Hello again, everyone. I'm your host, Antoinette Blake, and you are watching the One Marketing Thing podcast. Now, we started this podcast because we wanted to provide our digital marketers with expert advice from industry leaders and from those that have decades of experience. Now, CJ, she looks like she's been around for a few decades, but not that many decades. CJ Bachman, she's going to talk about trailblazing leadership, overcoming obstacles in the digital marketing industry. CJ, welcome to the One Marketing Thing podcast. Please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your journey thus far.
Thank you so much. And don't let the lighting fool you. I definitely have been around longer than I look. But yes, I am CJ Bachman. I'm the CEO at One SEO. We are a digital marketing agency. We offer a full suite of digital marketing services. But my journey has been very unique. And Antoinette, I have to admit that I'm so happy to be being interviewed by a woman in this space, because even though we are making headway, there are still just, there's way too many men taking over, and just being at the helm. So I'm really excited to be joining you today. Thank you so much. And that's kind of where my background started. Was I wanted to be a trailblazer. I wanted to be in a space that was predominantly male. So I have been in marketing pretty well much for 20 some odd years. I started out in Florida in a construction-based organization, and I worked my way up. I had my tape measure on my hip, and I would go out and meet with builders with my blueprints and really kind of help them understand the value that our organization could, bring to them if they chose to work with us. And then you kind of fast forward, and now I am the CEO here at One SEO, and I started from the ground up. When I started, I was a project manager. So again, in a space that's predominantly male, in an organization that at the time was predominantly male, and just kind of worked through that system, worked my way up, and I'm here today, and hopefully kind of spreading gospel and telling women to step up and take your place and do what we need to do to get it done.
And I love that story. And CJ, I'm wondering, I'm thinking, well, first of all, your lighting is gorgeous. You look beautiful. So that's wonderful. But I'm thinking, are we still in that male dominated industry when it comes to social media marketing, digital marketing, SEO, or has that playing field becoming more leveled?
I believe it's definitely becoming more level, especially in areas like social media. With social media, your creatives, you tend to have a lot more, females coming in, especially into leadership positions. We still have a ways to go when it comes to, C-level executives inside of these organizations, and, C-level and women speaking at some of the trade shows and expos and events and things like that. But we've made so much headway, and I am so proud of my team here and the amount of women that I have stepping up who want to be leaders inside the organization. So headway has definitely been made. We still have a ways to go, but I think we're leveling it out pretty well.
And I think we may even take it over, because as women, we are always wearing multiple hats, right? We always thinking ahead. We don't just think, with blinders on. Not saying that all men do that, but I think especially with SEO, social media, digital marketing, we have to think in multi layers, and that's just our natural, progression. So in your industry, One CEO, how are you, when the women are coming to you and they're saying, how do I get better at this, when we already know they have the foundation?
Yeah, I think it really comes to the hardest part for women to kind of overcome is when they're moving into those leadership positions, right? When you're running a team and you're leading a team, because then you're worried about your perception. A man can be, aggressive, and he's considered passionate. He can, get frustrated and get upset, and he can reprimand, and he can go through that. But when a woman does it, there's still that B word that's kind of thrown around. So what I see is a lot of women that are just hesitant to step up and speak up and, be the leader that they can actually be. So that's the advice that I give them, is they have to not worry about that. They have to kind of run it as this is my title, right? This is who I am. If I'm going to get the job done, and if I'm going to help you succeed, there are times where I'm going to have to put my foot down. I'm going to have to show my passion for the industry and how much I care about my clients. And that's one thing that you had mentioned too, is about, the difference between men and women. And one of those big differences that I truly believe it is, and this isn't a shot at men by any means, but we have this innate ability to be empathetic. And a lot of times men don't naturally gravitate to that. It's very business oriented for them. But when we're dealing with clients, especially a company like One SEO, we deal with mostly small to medium sized businesses. Mm-hmm. So what we have to do is we have to understand that we're messing with their livelihoods. When we're talking to those business owners and we're talking about their budget for paid campaigns and things like that, if we don't make the mark, if we miss out, if they don't get the ROI, it's affecting the food that's on their table. It's affecting the employees that they have to pay. So I do think that women have the ability to understand that and connect the business acumen along with the personal side and help the client understand, we hear you, we see you, we're working with you, we're an extension of your team. We're not just a third-party vendor.
And you brought up a great point, and to me, it seems like, especially in today's environment, back in the day, I was in corporate America for 32 years, and I remember the executives and everything was this. Now, because it's a different world, now we have more entrepreneurs, more solopreneurs, and more small business owners that have captured social media. They know how to do it versus what the bigger brands, they're still kind of stodgy with the ties and the wingtips. So for us to be able to go in, and I want you to talk a little bit more about those obstacles, how to turn those obstacles, from a step back to a step up. So yep. And today we have to get out of the boardroom, get out of the executive room, boardroom. And again, like you said, these are small business owners. These are their jobs, their businesses are their bread and butter. They don't have a lot of cushioning. So yeah. when you go in, One SEO goes in, your team goes in, you have to be able to lead with emotion, which is another thing that women do quite well. We lead with emotion. So how to tell women, okay, that may be an obstacle. You may have not received your ROI, but don't let that be a setback. Keep on going.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and it's a matter of that person, right? Being a person, not forgetting that you're dealing with a human. So we live in a world of so much tech. People are used to automated, phone calls. And, if you try to call customer service, you're like sitting there, live person, customer service, like you're trying so hard to get outside of that automated thing. So a lot of times it's just remembering that people are people. And if you set the right expectation and you have a solid relationship with your client, they're going to understand that not every month is going to be green arrows. Not every month is going to be, this amazing positive ROI. It's a moving, shifting, living, breathing organism. So we have to work together, doing strategies ahead of time so that the client is able to see this is what's coming up. That allows you to have stronger, better conversations, and you become more prepared. And then also, if you already know what the plan is, and then the results aren't where they are, it's very easy to go back to that existing plan and make those tweaks. And the client understands and can see that you're trying to overcome their obstacle by being willing to do something different than what you had previously planned to do. And I think a lot of times people look at marketing is kind of that set and let it go, right? Clients think that they pay you, you put these campaigns up, and then you just walk away and don't do anything. So by being able to have those deep conversations and make tweaks and changes based on what the client is sharing with you, it makes all the difference in the world.
Awesome. And I see that you're in a podcast studio, which begs the question, is this something that new marketers should be thinking about implementing, not only for themselves, but for their clients and their customers?
Yeah, I think that, well, first, let me give you the story behind our podcast, because I think it'll help you it'll answer your question, right? So One SEO, for probably the last 7 or 8 years, we've had some sort of podcast kind of going on. It's had different iterations and different names, and it's always been about getting people the knowledge that they need to know the things that they should be doing or things that they should know. But we had to make a massive change during COVID, as a lot of organizations did. And we thought, how can we use this video podcast in a way that really helps business owners further than what we were doing before. And that's when we created In the Den. And we started with trending and hot topics. And we want every episode to have somebody walk away knowing, okay, these are things that I could be doing, should be doing, or now I know what I need to implement. And I think that it's a perfect fit for any organization, because alongside of building up a lead demand or lead generation, we're also being informative, and we're becoming influencers in the space, and we're helping people understand where marketing is headed. And in a world of AI, right, that's the hot topic right now, it's so important that these conversations are being had and that people get an opportunity to learn, and you take the fear out of it. Like, it's just amazing the amount of fear that's there. And things like the podcast help to do that.
And that is great. So that's one obstacle. Again, the COVID, the pandemic became an obstacle, and you guys overcame it with the podcast. And I do believe that people need to shift or pivot, and there's that new catchword, shivit, so that they can stay, in a top of mind, in their clients' eyes.
Oh, absolutely. And the obstacle during that time was so many people concerned about, pulling back away from all of their marketing, dropping that spend, pausing it out. And the biggest worry for marketers wasn't the fact that we were going to, fearful of losing clients. It was fearful that clients were going to lose more and more business when they could capitalize on it. So being able to share those message and help them shift it, right? They needed someone to tell them, hey, it's okay, don't panic. You can pivot, you can change. Like a restaurant client, we were able to help them convert to a delivery service where, they were able to help hospitals, and they were able to help schools, and they were able to do these things that they didn't do before, but they didn't have to close down their doors. They didn't have to fire people. But initially, that's what they thought. They thought they were going to have to close up shop. So I think that that's an obstacle that people have to learn to overcome, is anytime you hit a roadblock, there's always a way around it, right? Whether it's under it, whether it's over it, whether it's busting through, there's always a way. So it's just a matter of, strategizing and figuring out what's going to work.
That's great. And I know One SEO was on top of everything during, the pandemic, and also now, because if you're a new digital marketer, it can be scary. I often talk about, the imposter syndrome. How do you get people to overcome that obstacle?
Yeah. So the imposter syndrome is so real, and nobody explains it better than Brene Brown, right? And I mean, she does a great job. But essentially, the fake it till you make it, we know that that's not real, right? It's not a great mindset to have. What you have to do is you have to decide who you want to be, right? And then no matter what you're thinking internally, you have to change that dialogue, and you have to be able to look around you and say, what impact am I providing to the people around me? What impact am I giving to my clients? Are people listening to me? Are they following me? Am I getting the attention that I need to get? And am I speaking up for myself? And as you start to engage in those conversations and ask, how am I doing? How are things going? Like, no matter what position you're in, there's always someone that you can go to. And if you're at the very, very top, then guess what? There's someone who makes more money than you, has a bigger business than you, that you can also reach out and talk to. And that helps to get rid of that imposter syndrome. When you're able to get people's feedback, and positive feedback and constructive criticism are all valuable pieces of information that today people seem to be scared of, right?
I know, right?
People are very scared of that constructive feedback. But how are you going to improve? How are you ever going to feel like the real professional you are if you aren't willing to hear how people are perceiving you, and then make changes or adjustments to, self-correct if need be?
CJ, we can talk for hours. I am loving everything that I hear. I love the fact that, you're there for your client, and you're helping them. You're giving them common sense information, not something, you pull from the sky, as a guru or expert would say, which I always put those in the air quotes, right? Because this is a learning and changing environment. So digital marketers need to know that, you have to shift, then you have to pivot, you have to shivot, you have to overcome those obstacles, use those obstacles as a building block to the next level. I love that. So is there anything else that you want to share with us, about, overcoming obstacles in the digital marketing industry?
Yeah, I think another big obstacle that we see that I'd like to kind of leave everybody here is the change, right? Nothing changes if nothing changes.
I
And
love
the
it.
world is changing around us. So if you're not willing to change with it, you're going to be left behind. And we have that conversation here at One SEO all the time because of all the AI that's coming into place. Generative AI is here. It's not going anywhere. And we have two choices. We can fight against it or we can adapt to it. And I choose to adapt to it as simply because if I don't, my competitors are, right? And my competitors are going to take advantage of what is out there. So that's one thing that people need to remember is anytime that there is new technology, don't shy away from it. What you do today is not what you're going to be doing a year from now or 5 years from now. And if you're afraid of that, you're going to be stuck. And so that's the biggest piece of advice that I can give to any digital marketer. Learn, don't stop learning. Like just try everything that they put out there, find what works for you and keep on learning.
Yeah, because things literally change overnight.
Yeah.
The way once something was done before is not done the next day. And I love what you said about learning, because I think there's someone that said AI will not replace you, but the person that learns AI will.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's where it's at right now. So any digital marketer that's out there, if you're not learning about scripts and prompts and things like that for the generative AI, if you're not taking advantage of the fact that it's feeding off the algorithms that we all want access to, like when people are afraid of it, I'm just, why? Go for it.
I guess it's the same when, the internet started. People were like, oh no, that's not going to work. Or the computers, oh no, that's not going to work. Or television. I mean, it's the fear factor, but the
Yeah.
horses left the gate.
Oh, evolution is going to happen whether you want it to or not. It is.
CJ, you are a marvel, and I love, that what you're doing to help those that are starting out, and it's great that you were able to pivot and shivot and all that other good stuff. And I just can't wait to have you back again so that we could share the latest and greatest, because AI is becoming it's over. It's just amazing. It's just absolutely amazing. Oh, let me ask you a question before I let you go, because
Sure.
people are like, oh my God, it's going to take over the world. Really?
No, absolutely not. And here's the reason why, right? If you really think about it, people are afraid it's going to take over the world, but the code that actually created it is written by men, or by an individual. The code that maintains it is written by individuals. The cleanup that has to happen, the evolution of the product. So it is only going to learn what we put into the system, right? So garbage in, garbage out. The more we feed it, the more it's going to learn, the more it's going to evolve, but it isn't going to just randomly make up new things. It's just not, it's not how it works. It's not iRobot. It's not going to throw us out the window and take over our jobs. So, that's where I tell people, play around with it and test it and see. Once you're actually in there and you see what it's able to do for you, and you understand the intricacy of how important it is to know how to feed it the right information, then you start to realize there's no way that it can replace individuals. But that's where the fear comes in when people don't want to adapt to it. And you're right. It was the same thing when the internet came about. You had people that were afraid of it. The same thing when people had cell phones. I don't want to carry it. I'm going to get cancer if it's in my pocket.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, exactly. So again, it's part of evolution, and the only way around it is through it.
Yeah, evolution is everything, because look at the dinosaurs. They didn't evolve. Where are they? On
Exactly,
TV
right?
now, Jurassic Park.
Yep.
CJ, thank you so much for being a guest here on the One Marketing Thing podcast. And you know what, guys, if you've heard anything, and I know you've heard a lot from CJ, and you have any questions for her, send an email to editor@passionatemarketers.com with all your questions for her, about evolution, AI, SEO, because, it's here to stay. The horse is out the gate. We're here, right? We're here, and we just got to make it and shiv it, right? So
Yep.
thank you, CJ, so very much for just giving us a few minutes of your time today. We truly, truly appreciate you.
Absolutely, Antoinette. And hopefully we can have you on our day and one day.
Hey, I'm here anytime. And we
All
also
right.
want to thank our sponsor, Propel, a unique review automation and management platform. And Propel is the #1 tool that helps small businesses convert visitors into customers.